KFGO time is fast approaching now, 2:10. It is Thursday. Beautiful day outside for what we've been going through the last few days, so I hope you are enjoying it. For those of you that were able to get on out to Morton for coffee with KFGO, thank you. It was great to visit with some of you down at the Antelope Grill down there. It was a fun time, great establishment. First time ever through the door. I want to thank Vision Ford for allowing us coffee with KFGO to go on down there. So if you want to have your town, you know what? You go to KFGO.com and get registered there. Lots of things we're going to cover. In fact, we're going to kick right off with you as callers. You can join the Laney studio line at 237-594. Right, and that's where I'm going to connect with Craig. Craig, thanks for calling in. How are you today? Thank you.
Pretty good. I got a comment on that Putnam from Russia.
Grill down.
I don't think he cares about any kind of economic sanctions. My personal opinion is the only thing he understands is military might.
To go on down there. So
and I hate to see us get into a war with Russia, but I don't think the guy understands or cares about anything else.
Yeah, Craig, and I think I heard that somewhat remarked from President Biden's remarks today, saying, look, no matter the what sanctions we had on before, nothing was going to deter him. I agree with you. I don't think, economically speaking, that's the thing that's going to nip. What I'm seeing right now is people out in Russia on the streets protesting what Putin has done. And that's what I question. If there's anything that's going to stop him, like you say, is it going to be military or is it going to be something internal? The chaos ensued. I don't know.
They're arresting those people left and right if they say anything.
Yeah, that's
who knows what happens to them after that?
I agree with you. I couldn't imagine, Craig. It takes a lot of courage for them to get out of the streets. There's no question there.
Well, this is a sad situation for the whole world.
It is. I stayed up way too early this morning watching this, and I was so spitting angry at what was unfolding because of one man and his urge to go out and do this to his neighbors, to his own country, and to the world, Craig.
Yep.
It's
unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Really is. One person could have that much effect on the world.
Yeah, there's no
negatively.
Yeah,
negatively. But anyway, that's my comment on Putnam. He only understands the military might.
Yeah.
And I hate to see us get into World War III, but I don't know where else this is going, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Craig, you be listening. I got an expert coming on and talking about exactly that. I appreciate you calling in with your comments. I don't know that there is anything final. So take this for a walk. And now, if I'm going to criticize anything that was said in remarks from President Biden earlier, and we will really dive into this in the 3 o'clock hour, I assure you, was with these sanctions being the economic side of it, saying, well, we'll see where it is in a month. Ukraine doesn't have a month. I mean, Kiev, the capital, has days, if not hours, before it is underneath Russian control. And even if after a month, is that enough? Does it cripple Russia's economy so much that the average Joe and Jane on the street out there that's trying to put food on their table, does something an upheaval? I don't know if it comes to that. I think that's what some of these sanctions are geared towards, especially those that are around Putin's buddies, those rich folks that have the yachts here in America or elsewhere in Europe, is to try to get them so much in a financial bind to where they look at him and say, Vlad, what the hell are you doing? I mean, and I can't take my second boat out right now. And if that turns on him, the other option, and this is what Craig says, and who knows? We'll visit with Dakota Rudisill. He studies this. He's an expert in this. The other thing that you heard is we will not be involved militarily in Ukraine. However, if in fact the ambitions from Putin are beyond just Ukraine, and that if they do an inch, they take a step 1 foot on a NATO ally country territory, we're all in. And that's where I was talking a little bit yesterday when people were talking about NATO this, paying. Well, it's about that agreed upon defense. If you attack one, you attack all. And right now we just had it confirmed from the president that if in fact Russia, if Vladimir Putin goes and attacks one of our allies that's in the NATO alliance, we are in. We don't want it to come to that, ladies and gentlemen, because you know what? You're already going to be feeling the pinch because of the actions you're seeing unfold in real time right now at the gas pump. You're seeing it in the stock market. You're seeing what will happen when it comes to some of the commodities, because Ukraine, an exporter of a variety of agricultural products, I mean, you're seeing it already flesh out right now. We'll get more into it, I assure you, in the 3 o'clock. Or if you want to start sending in your thoughts at 35270, it's about Putin, Ukraine. Meat Dude, he's right around the corner. I've already got some meat-related questions. Spencer Ward, our friend's going to be joining us. Whether it's cuts, rubs, the techniques, what you ask your butcher, now's your chance to get those in, and we'll ask him right after this. I'm Tyler Axis. Afternoons Live is just getting started right here on KFGO.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Mighty 790. Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? From It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Dude, join us and take all of your meat-related questions. And Spence, I hope things are well, man.
They are. They're going pretty well. I hope everything's as well as it can be on the eastern side of the state after the beginning of the week.
Yeah, the sun is shining, and I think we're above 0, so things are going we're at 4 degrees is what I'm getting up from Eric Johnson, our producer. So I'm not complaining at all. I hit the road, went down to Morton, got back. It was a fun time to actually get outside of the area because there was not blowing snow. Do you have much out in the New Salem area?
I think we got maybe 3 to 4 inches out of that system that moved through. So more than, we were pretty much bare before that storm moved through on Sunday and Monday. So we got a little snow now.
I've got an important question before I get to some of the listener questions is, have you made amends? Have you apologized to all your duck hunting friends since last Thursday's appearance?
I knew you were gonna bring that up, and I guess the best way to apologize is on the radio. So I apologize to all the duck hunters for what I said last week.
If you missed his outrageous commentary on duck hunters and whether or not that's a legitimate duck, KFGO.com, you can click on the podcast page and listen to Spencer Worth, the Meat Dude segment from last Thursday. We had people sending in recipes. Our buddy up in Devil's Lake said that, you know what, I shoot my duck and then I make some duck tacos with it. There's a whole variety out there. Just got to give it a shot. But okay, now that you've apologized, we can move on. We'll get right to the text club here, the 35270. That's the Ag Consultants of North Dakota text club. You got a meat question? Spence is your man. Tyler, Meat Dude question. They say thawed meat should not be refrozen. Is that true for thawed and cooked food?
So, the worst thing of course, the worst thing that could happen is that you leave it out, like on the counter too long, where you could potentially have some bacterial growth. But The real issue is let's put pathogens and bacteria aside. When you refreeze and thaw and refreeze and thaw, you're breaking down the ability for that protein to hold onto water. So when you do that multiple times, you're just essentially drying out that chunk of meat. And that's why when you thaw out a package of steak, ground beef, roast, what have you, you're going to see a lot of water in the bottom of that package. So think of all that water you lost on the first thawing, then you're going to refreeze it and thaw it again. You're going to lose more water, and you're just going to create kind of a bad cut of meat because you've lost a lot of water. I like to look at things on a, get past the pathogens. There's always potential for something crazy bad to happen there. And think of it more of a, if I do this, am I going to ruin my eating experience? And freezing, thawing, sooner or later, you're going to create a real bad eating experience.
Better get the saw out if you're going to want to be cutting through that steak. But I mean, like health wise, is it's doable. It's just not ideal when you talk about the experience you're going to have. You're going to have a bad time.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that thawing out isn't going to. So if there is something on that piece of meat, with chances are anything in your freezer or fridge, there's barely minimal, if not zero, pathogens at all, right? Pathogens are the ones that could cause foodborne illness. When you freeze it, you don't kill those pathogens, but you put them into a dormant stage. When you bring it back to refrigerated temperatures, as long as you're under 40 degrees, they're going to come out of their dormant stage, but they can't grow because it's too cold. That's why we refrigerate things. So, I mean, on a food safety basis, if you're pushing, if your refrigerator is running at 45 to 50, which you'd have stuff spoiling all over the place if it was running that warm, there's potential for growth. But on a foodborne safety issue, the freezing, thawing ain't going to affect it too much.
Can you imagine taking a gallon of milk out of a fridge that's at 50 degrees? Gross.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good.
I hope that all of you out there have your fridge set a little bit cooler. I'm going to get to the phone lines. That's the Laney studio line at 237-5948. That's where I'm going to connect with Jesse. Jesse, how are you doing, man?
Real good.
What's on your mind?
Well, I got to speak in defense of the meat dude on the duck.
Okay.
Prepared ducks.
Go on.
What he's talking about here is his buddies are going out in the morning and shooting a duck in the swamp, and their dog drags it in, and they throw it back in the truck, and it lays there. And then they maybe stop by and have a beer before they go home, and then they go home and clean it, and then it goes in to the fridge or the freezer. That's the difference between the duck he's talking about and what some other guys are doing.
Yeah, Jesse, you described every hunting experience I've ever had in my life.
Yep.
I appreciate it because you nailed it. You are right. I thank you. And Spence, look, you got people coming to your back out there saying, "Look, I understand."
Yeah, no, I appreciate that call for sure because that's he hit the nail on the head with that descriptor of duck hunting.
Because you gotta go and celebrate all the labor you put in to get the duck. You gotta go brag about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
He made a great point. I still think it was a cheap shot. That's all I'm saying. Back to the text club at 35270. Tyler, ask the meat dude, if I have a butcher cut me a flat iron steaks, what do I sacrifice on my critter?
So that's kind of a loaded question because if your butcher is normally cutting your chuck bone in, you're not sacrificing anything but the bone. So the way we fab carcasses here at 6-in-1 Meats is we do everything boneless. So essentially what the big plants are doing, we're pulling the shoulder clod out and the chuck roll out. Cutting that flat iron is a portion of the clod, but the only thing that top blade is used for is a flat iron steak. It's not part of a chuck roast. It's not part of an arm roast. It's not part of anything else. So if your butcher is normally breaking down beef in the manner of boneless out of the shoulder, also known as the chuck, gets a little confusing, but you're not sacrificing anything. You still get your chuck roast, you still get your arm roast, you just additionally get flat irons. And how I tell people is, even if they've never had a flat iron, you might as well try it out of your beef, because you only get 4 total steaks. So either you get 4 awesome steaks or you get an extra 2 pounds of ground beef. In my head, 4 awesome steaks is better than 2 pounds of ground beef. But
that's correct. That's the right answer there. Spencer, more questions for you. I'm not even going to get to any of my personal questions today. I appreciate the listeners having all their questions ready for you. I'll tell you this for Spencer. I've gone to the meat section at the grocery store and picked up poultry that is frozen in the refrigerated meat cases. Can that be refrozen?
It was frozen in the refrigeration section?
Yeah, I'm thinking. What I'm assuming, like, okay, you know how you can go to like those middle sections and they've got like a frozen turkey out in like that middle aisle?
Yeah. I would say it's on a per instance. If that chicken is still frozen on the outside, you're probably fine to put it back into the fridge. If it's completely thawed, poultry, remember, is a completely different bacterial dynamic than red meat. Eating experience, cooking, everything. Poultry is in its own world. When it comes to poultry, you're better safe than sorry. If it is starting the thaw process when you purchase that chicken, best practices is to eat it within, a day or two instead of trying to refreeze it.
Very good. Well, you know what? There's other people defending. Here, I'll share it with you on air so I don't have to relay it to you afterwards, okay? Tyler, I'm with Spencer, and the caller is right. Local birds taste like the mud they live in. You can cook a boot in a crock pot and shred it for tacos, and it'll be edible. I can think of 100 things I could spend a fall morning doing instead of laying in a blind, and then I'll have a ribeye, I'm not sure what the tut is, a ribeye evening instead. Spencer, a dead on. So you got everybody getting your back.
All right, so we got for sure 2 people getting my back.
2.
That's all I need.
I assure you. Well, I don't know. Where are all those defenders I had last week? I need you to get my back this week. 237-594. Final question I've got for you. And okay, people use the term barbecue all the time, right? You go to a barbecue restaurant. In your definition, because you had a barbecue boot camp, is it really defined as the cooking technique, or is it about the sauce? Both? Tell me in a minute I've got with you.
Barbecue is a cooking method that was started a long, long time ago, and as a means to take low-end cuts and create awesome meals out of it. You hear people, in summer's coming up, just think of nice weather, even though it's cold out. People use the term, I'm going to a barbecue, but they're grilling burgers and steaks and hot dogs and brats. That's not barbecue. Barbecue is the cooking method in which you create, the big 4: brisket, ribs, shredded pork or pulled pork, whatever you have it, and poultry can sometimes be in there too. Barbecue sauce is something that maybe aids or adds flavor to the whole dynamic of cooking barbecue, but true barbecue is taking low-end cuts, cooking it in a manner with smoke, low heat, to create an awesome meal.
You know what? Be prepared for this question next week. Barbecue, sloppy Joe, or other? That's what we'll get into that conversation because I'm out of time this week. Spence, I appreciate it as always. You take care, my friend.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Spencer Wirt, the meat, do it every week at this time. He takes all your questions. I'm behind my time. We'll get you caught up with KFGO News. That's next.
Here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two. Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it.
News weather this hour brought to you by Ottertail Power Company, positively impacting communities they serve for more than a century.
Fargo-Moorhead, mostly sunny, 4 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. The U.S. is imposing additional sanctions on Russia for the invasion of Ukraine. Members of the U.S. Senate from Minnesota and North Dakota are reacting.
The president made it abundantly clear that the United States has no intention of fighting Russia. We will defend, he said, every inch of NATO territory, but the American troops are not in Ukraine and will not be in direct conflict with Russian troops, and that is extremely important.
U.S. Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota. Senator John Hoeven calls the invasion an unprovoked attack. He says the U.S. must work closely with its allies and ensure that President Putin pays a heavy price to prevent further aggression in Eastern Europe. Senator Kevin Cramer says Putin has put his fantasies of reuniting the Soviet Union into action. The Republican also says sanctions were needed months ago. 4 degrees. This is KFGO News. Four degrees. This is KFGO News. A woman who died in a Sunday night apartment fire in South Fargo has been identified. The body of 59-year-old Kay Holtman was discovered in the apartment where the blaze started. The fire at the Birchwood Apartments at 1843 13th and a half Street South was reported at about 6:30 Sunday night. The fire was out within 10 minutes. The investigation is ongoing by Fargo Police and Fargo Fire. Minot Police are investigating a fatal shooting as a homicide. Officers responded to the city's southeast side about 2 this morning and found a man had been shot. First responders attempted to save the 42-year-old man, but he died at Trinity Hospital. Police have not released the name of the victim and have not disclosed whether there is a known suspect. The new president of NDSU will be paid $420,000 a year. That's a significant raise from his predecessor's salary.
Dr. David Cook will start in June. He has been the Vice Chancellor for the Office of Public Affairs and Economic Development at the University of Kansas. Cook will be paid more than current NDSU President Dean Brashani and UND President Andrew Armacost. Both make around $370,000 annually. The Chancellor of the University System, Mark Hagerott, is paid $389,000. The state's highest-paid public employee is the Dean of UND's Medical School, Dr. Joshua Wynn, who earned over $700,000 last year. Tasha Carvel, News Radio, KFGO.
The South Dakota Senate has approved a proposal to legalize recreational marijuana. Republicans decided that they should jump ahead of a campaign to legalize it on the November ballot. The bill passed by a single vote in the Republican-controlled Senate. The proposal will next head to the House, where Republicans have pushed tighter restrictions on medical marijuana. Voters approved a 2020 constitutional amendment to legalize recreational pot, medical marijuana, and hemp. However, Republican Governor Kristi Noem challenged its constitutionality, and the state Supreme Court agreed and overturned the decision of voters. Specialized agricultural license plates are now available in Minnesota. Minnesota FFA Foundation Executive Director Val Arsfold says it took 4 legislative sessions to get it done.
And during that 4 years of time, though, what we really saw was people came out and said, we want this and we want to get behind it. And so I think it really is the accumulation of many people's efforts to make the plate a reality and available now.
The cost is $15.50 for the plate itself and a minimum annual contribution to be divided equally between the FFA and 4-H. Mostly sunny this afternoon. We should see a high of about 5 degrees. Wind from the southeast and light. 15 to 20 below. Partly cloudy overnight. Tomorrow, sunny, 5 to 10. 4 above. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Well, let me tell you, down in Morton, the helping, the serving size so big for the breakfast had going on. Looked delicious. We're going to have to make that trip down there just to have a nice dine-in there. But Rusty, you had some breakfast. You had some leftovers because of the large portion size.
I brought home the bacon.
A lot of sayings in agriculture.
Yep.
Bring home that bacon. And you did. Literally.
Yep.
It was a good time down there, though. So I want to thank Vision for it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
There's a lot of things going on in the world.
Yeah, there are.
As I'm watching up here, yesterday we were talking about the fact that commodity prices being, impacted by Ukraine because they're exporters of a variety of things. But it takes product or ships to move this. Supply chain issues. I know you've been working on some of that with USDA earlier today.
Yeah. USDA today saying it's going to commit $215 million to enhance the American food supply chain. Folks can check out that story on our website, kfgo.com, under the Agriculture tab. But leaders at USDA today trying to hold a rational talk about commodities and the supply chain with this Ukraine-Russia situation. They've got their annual Ag Outlook underway in Arlington, Virginia. Lots of unanswered questions. Forbes.com today, Tyler, reporting that the port of Charleston, South Carolina, has a big line of ships waiting, 31 ships waiting to unload. We've talked about the port of Oakland. We've talked about the port of Los Angeles, the West Coast. But at the forum today, Walter Lanza, an international commodity trader with the Scholar Company, says he's heard a common question. Why don't we build more boats to move more goods around the world and solve some of these bottlenecks of supply chain issues? And he says there's a couple of problems with that line of thought. So when you say we need a bigger boat,
I'm going to need a bigger boat.
That's not going to solve.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we already have empty boats out on the seas right now.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Common question to ask. Well,
yeah. So just because of all the world issues going on, Tyler, this USDA Outlook Forum is held every year, and it's supposed to give an outlook for commodities and trade and supplies and what USDA thinks will happen in the year ahead. And I got to tell you, the tone of this outlook, we're attending virtually, the tone is different this year, obviously, because of things that are going on.
Yeah, tone for a lot of things, especially today over the last 48, 24 hours, some of there. Yeah, it's changed for a lot of people.
Yep.
Very good.
We will continue to monitor what they talk about.
Well, you report back then on what you hear, all right?
Will do.
Audibles today. I'll check you down if you don't show up.
Okay.
That's going to be brought to you by Don's Car Wash. Appreciate it. We'll talk in just a little bit. Rusty Alverson, Sarah Heinrich, multi-award winning agriculture journalist. You can go to kfgo.com, check out more of the latest there. Get you the latest CBS National News headlines. They'll, I'm sure, undoubtedly give you the latest on U.S. sanctions. We will talk more about that in just a little bit's time. Tanner Cherney, Devil's Eye Tourism, will get you the ice fishing report right after this.
Steve Alverson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio.
Did you see that? It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on the MSUM campus we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
The wind's now blowing like 65-mile-an-hour gusts. You guys had a little bit of the weather and the wind up there as well.
We did. It's been a relentless winter. It's like, I tell you what, you get 30-degree days and you get 30-mile-an-hour winds, and then the next day it's down to 0 or 10 below. So, yeah, we've had our fair share of roller coaster weather up here.
How does that impact what you do when you're out ice fishing? To where you have one day, like today, I think we're at 4 above, the sun shining. And here's a Midwestern saying for you. That sun's got some power to it. It's melting things, because the sun's out. What's that do to the bite? How do you switch things up when you're out there then?
So first thing is, a lot of times when you get the weather like this, especially if you get the wind or the really cold weather, it limits you. We always talk about perch fishing. It's a run and gun style of fishing, and you're going to be hole hopping around. So it may limit you to, sticking inside your house and hunkering in from the conditions. And the other thing is, with a lot of this weather, changing from temperatures and wind direction switches, we get the yo-yo effect of these fish where you'll mark them on your transducer, your Vexlars, whatever you're using, and you'll watch them come up, they'll go back down, come up, go down. So biggest thing is just trying to downsize your presentations or slow your bait jigging down, your cadence down, just to get these fish a little bit more interested in your lure when they're more in a negative a mindset.
Well, that sounds like just about everyone that I've visited with. Just slow down. Things are just, I'm not in the mood to do a whole lot. You get that negative mindset because of the damn cold that just doesn't seem to go away. And it was unfortunate because it's impacting some of the events we had going on and planned as well, whether that's down south here or up there. I'm just curious, ice fishing, that people are still out there doing this. There's still other outdoor activities. Have we had to reschedule, or are there still things that you want to draw people's attention to, Tanner?
We had Shiverfest last week, and unfortunately, just with the weather and everything, we actually had to cancel the kids' ice fishing tournament, which was sad to see. But, with their safety and in cold weather and it being outside, it was one of those things we had to make a call on. But, there's a lot of other activities as we get into closer to March here. But biggest thing is, we've got pushing 30-plus inches of ice on most of the lakes. So as we do get to March and get into some of this better, more stable weather, I think we're going to have a good late season on the ice yet this year.
Well, that perked up a lot of people's, I'm sure, step when they think about it. Because there are still people, it's February. I think because of just the roller coaster that you've described, people are kind of ready for it to be done. But that's not everybody. They still want to get up, do ice fishing. Devil's Lake is the place to go. But if you are thinking about those warmer days, Tanner's going to tell you, you're going to want to start booking those trips because they fill up quite quick, don't they?
They sure do. And, the nice thing about North Dakota, our walleye season's open year-round. So as soon as the spawn takes place and we got, open water, it's game on. And, it usually is mid-May is when we're, running full steam ahead with a lot of our guides in the area. So, yeah, a lot of them are getting calls for May and June. So definitely not too early to start thinking about those summer days out on the water.
Yeah. What did I miss this week that you want to get out before I let you go, man?
When we talk about downsizing and slowing presentations, and I think we've mentioned it before, but with the 4 rods we're allowed in North Dakota, biggest tip I can say is have a second hole in your house or whether you're outside and have your dead stick ready with just a plain hook or even just a small little tungsten jig with a full minnow on there. And, a lot of these yo-yo fish might just end up committing to more of a full minnow presentation and hopefully help get you a few more fish topside.
Very good. I hope you wrote that down, boys and girls. Tanner, I always appreciate it. We'll chat again next Thursday, all right?
Sounds great, Tyler. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you do the same there, man. Tanner Cherney, Devil's Lake Tourism. You can go to devilslakeindy.com. You can check out some of those fishing reports. You can see all the other things to do, lodging, all the food, the hunting, golfing. You can explore the area, and you can discover it all in one convenient location, just a click away. Get you that weather update on this Thursday afternoon. Right after that, you, me, this microphone, and your cell phone. We'll talk about what's going on in Ukraine, Russia's invasion. Your thoughts on that are welcome all day. We'll be visiting with Dakota Rudisill, get his expert opinion on that, and so much more coming up. Don't go anywhere.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. You know, and all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. You know, that's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we
Paul Jurgens of that KFGO News Center, and then we'll definitely dive into a little bit more detail about your thoughts. You can start sending those in now if you want. In fact, you can call me on the Laney studio line as well at 237-594 about what you're watching, the history unfolding before our eyes over in Ukraine. And, of course, the iConsultants of North Dakota text club is at 35270. I'm looking forward to our conversation with Dakota Rudisil in the next hour. He teaches this stuff. He's lived this stuff. If you missed our previous conversation building up to this, KFGO.com or wherever you get your podcast, just find Afternoons Live with me, your host, Tyler Axedis, and take a listen to that. A lot of what was predicted, whether it was from Dakota or our professor up at NDSU, Thomas Ambrosio, well, it's unfolding as a lot of the predictions were. And exactly how U.S. intelligence was telling you how it was going to happen and unfold. Much of what they were putting out in real time is exactly what is taking place right now. And, for me last night, when you are sitting and then you start watching it, I way too late or way too early this morning, however you want to put it. Watching this with just that gut-wrenching feeling of watching it. And, for people that want to dog on media all the time, that say, oh, yeah, the mainstream media. If you were watching last night with those reporters in real time in Ukraine, giving you the details, giving you the visuals, giving you the live reports, putting their lives in danger as journalists, I hope you take a second to reevaluate how you describe them, because it was happening on all major channels. Yes, including those cable news networks that a lot of you have taken issue with over the last, 5-10 years. I told you, my days of watching just wall-to-wall coverage of cable news, that's been long behind me. But CNN in particular has done an outstanding job with their reporters on the ground in Ukraine, giving you the stories from there. And in fact, you're getting now some insight from within the Russian, inside of Russia, in which you've got thousands of Russian civilians protesting Putin's war. And it is Putin's war. If anybody wants to come out and say, well, this is Joe Biden, you're wrong. You are absolutely wrong. And for those that are cheering on Vladimir Putin and his aggression and the war that he alone declared, wasn't antagonized by Ukraine, certainly not the United States nor NATO. He wanted to do this, and he did it. That's where I appreciate the caller and Craig that before my show even started, want to get it out there. I was saying, what deters this man? We don't know. We're going to find out if anything will, if it's going to be might, or if it's going to be that his own citizens are so fed up and that his own inner circle can't take any more of the financial strain that they decide to do something internally on their own. It may have a regime change within the Russian system. And you're not going to hear me call him President Putin. You know, because that gives the notion that he was fairly elected, and that is not at all the case from where I sit. And if you got a different perspective, by all means, you know how to get a hold of me. But you ain't going to be hearing me call him President Putin. I mean, this guy is out there. He prepared all of this. You watched it unfold for weeks. You were told about it from the U.S. intelligence, and they got it right every step of the way, to the point to where what you're watching in real time, what you're hearing in real time right here on CBS National News Updates, shouldn't surprise you. It should disgust you. It should anger you. I know that's where I find myself right now, just angry at this happening. Watching as you're watching on social media of fathers in Ukraine saying goodbye to their children as they put them on a train because they're sticking around to fight for their country. All because of Vladimir Putin. Get to the phone lines. Let's talk to John. John, thanks for calling in. How are you?
I've been a lot better, especially a few days ago when Putin, you know, what really bothers me about the whole thing is the fact that you can't rely on the devil. I'm not preaching religion now, okay?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
But I'm just telling you, you know, Ronald Reagan back in the 80s turned around and said, Europe, you're fools for relying on Russia for your fossil fuels. And it took, 40 years or whatever, but the bottom line is what should be done, nobody buys any wheat from them, nobody buys any oil from them, everybody just no air travel to Russia, just shut everything down and treat them like a leper.
John, I don't find anything I disagree with. Cut them off from the rest of the world. You know, that's one thing. I'm going to let you go. I'm getting a little feedback. I'll let you listen off air, John. I thank you for your phone call. And if it sounds like you're driving, get where you're going safely. The new round of sanctions that Biden did roll out, or at least discuss, and this is not just the United States. This is in conjunction with our allies in Europe, as you mentioned. Half the global economy has shut out Russia. Half of it. Let's get to that other half. I'll be curious, and I'm going to ask Dakota Rudisill about this. Because you think about everyone else has rightfully started turning their backs on Russia, on Vladimir Putin. When it comes to the economy, when it comes to trade. But that China ability to not only verbally say, hey, you know what, we're fine with what we're witnessing. Right, how big of a funder are they? And they're watching intently because they have the aspirations in Taiwan to do something identical to what they're watching Vladimir Putin do and Russia do to Ukraine. But you're right, cut them off entirely. You know, that's where there's people criticizing some of these moves. I get it. As far as there's these big other global intertwined things when it comes to financing. You got to have everybody on the same page. This SWIFT, I'll ask Dakota about that. Cut them off. Don't even acknowledge it. Just they've got to be out of our global market until they get their act together. We'll continue the conversation after this.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two?
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, Volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out, as people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11. And volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Messages in at 35270. That is the I Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. I'm coming back to you. We got a whole other half hour to where you and I are going to discuss and digest my disgust with what I'm watching over in Ukraine. I hope you feel the same way. It is 3:05. You know what's going and what's trending today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. You got the Home and Garden Show. That is up at the Fargo Dome. And guess what? I got another pair of passes. Gave away a number of them yesterday. I'm going to be up there Saturday. We've got a garden now. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm hoping that they can teach me to not just throw seeds in this dirt mound and ruin it all and waste the whole summer. So that's what I'm going to be doing. You get a chance to maybe win that she shed. If you want to go, if you want to pass, you want a friend, you want a spouse, it doesn't matter as long as you use both, either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. You be caller number 5 to 237-5948. And then you are going up to the Fargo Dome Home and Garden Show again tomorrow through Sunday. Got a lot of opportunity. Caller 5-237-5948. And you could head on up there. Let's get you caught up with KFGO News now. Your thoughts on Ukraine and Russia next.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead, a partly sunny sky. It's 4 degrees. I'm Paul Juergens. U.S. Senator Tina Smith says the Russian invasion of Ukraine is the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II and a very dangerous moment. Smith, a Minnesota Democrat, says Russian President Putin has made a disastrous decision.
The economic consequences of this decision that Putin has made and the consequences that will unfold because of what the U.S. is doing and our leadership with allies will leave Russia weakened both strategically and economically and diplomatically. They are severe.
Smith says Western allies are more united than ever before. North Dakota Senators John Hoeven and Kevin Kramer say they agree with the sanctions, but Kramer says they should have been put in place months ago. A woman who died in a Sunday night apartment fire in South Fargo has now been identified. The body of 59-year-old Kay Holtman was discovered in the apartment where the blaze started. The fire at the Birchwood Apartments at 1814 13.5 Street South was reported at about 6:30 Sunday night. The fire was out within 10 minutes. The fire remains under investigation. Minot police are investigating the early morning shooting death of a man during some type of altercation. Officers responded shortly after 2 this morning to an address in southeast Minot. The victim died at Trinity Hospital. His name has not been released. Police have not said whether they have a suspect. Unions representing teachers and school staff in the Minneapolis and St. Paul school districts have filed the paperwork that begins a 10-day countdown to potential strikes. The notification is required by state law. Strikes by more than 8,000 teachers in Minneapolis and St. Paul could begin as soon as March 8th. The strikes could affect 62,000 students in the 2 districts. The unions have been asking for better pay, smaller classes, and more mental health support. Fargo-Moorhead about 5 above for a high this afternoon under a partly to mostly sunny sky. A light southeast wind throughout the afternoon. Partly cloudy, 15 to 20 below overnight. Tomorrow, 5 to 10 degrees, a sunny sky. Sunny Saturday, some blowing and drifting snow possible in the afternoon. High of 25, 20 to 25 the high on Sunday. Mid-20s sunny Monday. Tuesday, partly sunny. A little light snow is possible, 25 to 30. And by Wednesday, partly sunny, 30 to 35 degrees. Again, partly sunny, it's 4. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Your time to share the airwaves at 35270. I Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. You want to call in? That's cool. We allow that at 237-5948, our Laney's studio line. If you're just joining us, we're talking about what everyone else is talking about, Ukraine, Russia invading last night, ongoing today. It was some unusual development. Chernobyl. I mean, everyone remembers Chernobyl, right? The nuclear power plant, Russia has reclaimed that. Curious the strategy there. I'm going to ask Dakota Rudisill in a little bit about that. But what you're seeing in real time, both because of traditional media and quite frankly, if you're on social media, you're watching it being documented by those that are living it right now. And there's nothing that's more heartbreaking than watching a father bring his kids to a train station and saying his goodbyes as he puts them on the train to get out of the country to safety, as then he turns around, wipes the tears from his eyes, and is going to fight for his country. That's what's going on right now throughout the entire day. And it is so maddening that you have got a tyrant that is Vladimir Putin, a guy that is felt as though he has been victimized, that his country has been so wronged over the course of the last 40, 50 years that Ukraine should have never been going to wipe it off the map. It's going to be rightfully put back into the Soviet Union that only Vladimir Putin can bring back to all its glory in his mind and his psyche. And having him and his decision to go to war and declare that overnight impact not only what's going on in the real world costs of lives lost in Ukraine, but what it's going to cost you and I, and as far as our checkbook when it comes to filling up at the gas pump, when it comes to some of the other commodities. I mean, this is having such a global impact. Now, if there's any glimmer of, I don't know if I dare say hope, but if there's any glimmer of optimism in what this has done, it's showing how I think united allies can be. I mean, we're not fully there yet. There are still things that can be done when it comes to sanctions and determining whether or not they've gone far enough. I mean, what more do you need to see than what you're witnessing right now in Ukraine if you're one of those world leaders to say, look, it's already gone as far as it needs to go. Let's cut them off from the entire world, as our previous caller just said. I mean, what more? What other advancement do you need to see? Is it going to take that encroachment into a NATO country, one of our allies, in which, all right, if you take a step further, then we're all in militarily, and what could come of that. But you are seeing at least the rallying of democracies, allies saying that, look, we're mostly on the same page. This cannot go unresponded to. Now, it's not always pretty. I mean, I'm seeing some things that are being said by self-proclaimed patriots right here in America that also disgusts me. Those that want to talk about how Ronald Reagan was such a great president and then go ahead and talk about Vladimir Putin and defending his actions, his war. You can't have it both ways. Yeah, you can't praise the actions of that greatest generation. You can't praise Ronald Reagan, what he did, and then turn around and say, hey, but Vladimir Putin's kind of within his right to do this. You cannot do that. So if you find yourself in there, take a pause and reflect on it. You can't do both. The issue now is whether or not Ukraine is all that Vladimir Putin has his ambitions to. One thing that we should all take comfort in is, as far as what we've now known, that our intelligence has been right all along. For the weeks that you've been hearing things roll out in real time about what to expect has been right. Now, the troubling side of that is they're now saying that Ukraine's probably not his most ambitious part, that there could be more beyond just Ukraine. So then what? What do you do? I mean, you're there. Are sanctions enough for you? Because I don't know that there's any appetite, nor should there be, quite frankly, as of now, to involve any boots on the ground. Not in Ukraine. But there's a real possibility, if those ambitions are real, that it's beyond just Ukraine for Vladimir Putin, that there will be boots on the ground. We're already moving 7,000 troops, American troops, to further east into Europe because of the encroachment, how far. It's not just those two territories that he lied to everybody about, as in Vladimir Putin, about, well, we're going to be peacemakers here. Meanwhile, last night, what you saw was troops come from Belarus. You saw troops come from Crimea, tanks, going straight to the capital. And it's being reported that within the next day, that capital could fall. You're in the driver's seat. What do you do? 35270. You can call me at 237-5948. I'm going to get to the text club here. A lot of messages waiting. I'll start where Tyler, Trump's hero may just be crazy enough to go nuclear. Be afraid. Another one. Tyler, if we can't even put Trump in jail, do you think Putin is at all worried? Not in the least. Just like Putin flipping the bird to the law. Others that have come in. Tyler, a few years ago during the Trump administration, 60 Minutes did a segment on rich Russian women who were coming by the dozens to have their babies in the United States. Sorry, this text broke up. Bear with me. The child would have U.S. citizenship, and the mother and child would go back to Russia, thereby giving the child dual citizenship. The hotels they stayed at were in Florida and arranged everything for what was probably a 2-month stay. It's bothered me ever since, and now I wonder if there is money somewhere in the United States protected under this American-born child's name. It's just a drop in the bucket. Perhaps there's a few hierarchy, and this goes on. One thing, if we're talking about sanctions and cutting them off for the world, there's Russian investments right here, property. I mean, New York's part of that, but it's sheltered because of the way of which you've got the whole money organized in a way that you don't just be able to go through the county auditor's office and say, oh, this one belongs to Vlad. If we can go further into something like that, to say, all right, well, you know what, you got an investment here. Well, you're not getting any of that return on that investment because of what your country's doing. I mean, there is something there to it. To the specifics of what you brought forward, I'm at a disadvantage. I'm not familiar with that 60-minute story. I'll have to go check in to that. More coming in. Tyler, nobody in Russia and Russia's government cares if you keep punishing the banks. This has no effect on the Russian government, whoever or whatsoever, now nor will it. So our plan is to make the Russian citizens suffer. Russians cannot stand up to Putin. He will not tolerate that. That last part, if that's the end, if that's the long game, when we talk about, well, we'll see in a month what these sanctions do, it is going to constrain Russia's economy, and it will hurt those average citizens. Will that push them to pull for regime change in Russia? We don't know, and we won't know until time tells. What I do know is there's a lot of courage going on in major cities in Russia right now from those same citizens protesting this war. You got to admire that. Tyler, the president missed a huge opportunity to send a message to Europe and Putin. He should have said that effectively, immediately, we're lifting all restrictions on oil and gas development on federal lands, removing all restrictions on coal-powered electricity, unleashing the largest energy production the world has ever seen. But instead, he is pussyfooting around, comes in. I'm going to be watching if any of that moves, because there's been, in the last couple of remarks, I think in the last 2 days from Joe Biden, talking about how there's going to be some real-world costs for you and I. And he's talking about energy costs. And that he will do everything within his power to make it less impactful. So does that mean just a gas tax holiday, or does that allow for what you're getting at? Because I think in this time, and I said this as people are coming after me about this whole thing, about, well, if we just wouldn't have done this when it comes to energy, Putin wouldn't have been empowered. That's not at all, in my opinion, how this escalated to where it was. But when the administration took office to what it is now, the world has certainly changed over the last 48 hours. And if you're a leader, you got to take a moment and say, well, where I was then and what has changed now, it's time to reevaluate. Now there's already experts here on the North Dakota side of this energy development saying, yes, because of all that going on, we still don't see the Bakken coming back roaring as it was. I don't think it would hurt to reevaluate that, because it would be that whole keeping in our own, making sure that we're not relying on imports of other energy. I'm all for that discussion taking place, and I have no doubt, or at least I hope, that the administration is as well. One last one before I get to a quick pause here. Tyler, do you think the Chinese government will go after Taiwan now? That is a very important question. Because last night China came out and said, well, you know what, we're watching Russia do in Ukraine. Sure, we're not opposed to it. Well, I suppose because they have the same vision in mind for Taiwan. Now, will they do it immediately? We don't know. Will they wait and see what the Allied response is to Russia for what they're doing in invading a neighboring country. Maybe they wait and see, but there's a parallel between the two, and I have no doubt that they are moving their chess pieces around, saying, okay, this might be the opportunity we've been long waiting for, depending on how NATO reacts to Russia. 237-5948, that's the Laney studio line. You can text into So Many Are at 35270, the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club. We'll continue taking your hot takes on this. Dakota Rudisil, he's going to be up after this as well. He is the senior fellow at the Pershon Center for International Security Studies at The Ohio State University. You got a Locked In Afternoons Live. Stick around.
Robertson here with another Dynamite News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio.
Did you see that? It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence. Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11. And volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
In about 5 minutes, we'll get you caught up with your local headlines. Paul Jurgens in the KFGO News Center. If you haven't gone to KFGO.com, you can check out some of those, and not always have to wait for the top and bottom of the hour. Yesterday, we did bring to you that NDSU has hired their new president, and getting a chance to hopefully visit with Dr. David Cook in sometime in the near future. Encouraged to hear some of his approach as far as he's got children that are going to college and having the approach to the job as though a parent, because I think when it comes to college, when it comes to university, when it comes to just all of that advanced education, you think about the amount it costs as well. And some of the growth does, in fact, take a little bit of money, but at what point are you putting that all on students versus on some of the other means? There was a great story out of NDSU not long ago because of the foundation, what they're able to raise. I mean, just incredible amounts of money. Some of that going directly for the student lifestyle as well. So we'll learn a little bit more about him as an individual, I have no doubt, here in the coming days and weeks ahead. In a little bit, we'll be joined by Dakota Rudisill. And I want to underscore this again because Dakota is one of my go-tos here when it comes to breaking this down. And somebody the last time wondering his credentials. Why, in fact, I always go to Dakota Rudisill. One, he's been involved in the intelligence world for a long time. I mean, for 15 plus years. Right now, he's a professor and senior fellow at the Mershon Center for International Security Studies at Ohio State University. Talking about the intelligence side of this. I know I've been beating the drum of how right the U.S. intelligence has been. They told you exactly what was coming. But the questions, if you've got questions about what you're seeing, or if you want to just try to better understand any aspect, for me, the whole Chernobyl situation, which Russia goes and recaptured Chernobyl. Why? What's the strategic purpose of that? So I'm going to ask him that. Also, these protests that you're seeing in Russia, what does that mean when it comes to the grip of which Putin has on Russia? So those are some of my questions. And, of course, I'll ask him about the Taiwan and China as situation, as somebody did text in to me about 10 minutes ago, and get his take on that. But he's got plenty of time for your conversations and questions coming up in just a little bit as well. Final hour, yes, we'll have Audibles brought to you by Don's Car Wash. A chance to win a free The Works car wash. We'll have our usual players in studio with Abby Miller, Rusty Halverson, Derek Hansen. I don't know about Matt English. That might open up the floodgates for another opportunity because they might actually have some games to be calling after everything got pushed back Monday and Tuesday because of that weather. So, that's the question mark, whether or not Matt will come in and dominate as he's been doing, the last 3 weeks. Myself, I'm Tyler Axis on Afternoons Live. I'm your host, Eric Johnson, your producer. If you want to start sending in your questions or who do you think will win Audibles to 35270, we'll be ready for you. And then that final half hour, whatever you want to talk about. I don't care what the topic is. We'll get you to that 5 o'clock punch out. Tonight, later on, after the drive time news, the Minnesota Wild are playing at Toronto. 5:45 is when the puck drops. Right here on your home for Wild Hockey, KFGO.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that kind of we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Pioneer House Assisted Living, offering you the independence of your own apartment with the convenience of extra assistance when needed.
Fargo-Moorhead, partly sunny and 4 degrees. I'm Paul Jerkins. Firefighters from 4 towns battled a fire at a vacant shop building near Hitterdall, Minnesota this afternoon. Clay County Sheriff Mark Empting says there were no injuries. The fire was reported around 1:40. There's no word on the cause. Firefighters from Hitterdall, Ulen, Felton, and Hawley responded. A woman who died last weekend in a South Fargo apartment fire has been identified. She was 59-year-old Kay Holtman. Holtman's body was recovered from the unit where the blaze started. Firefighters responded to the Birchwood Apartments west of the South University Drive Loafenjug at about 6:30 Sunday night. The building was evacuated. The fire was out within 10 minutes. The cause of the fire remains under investigation by the police and fire departments. Minot police are investigating a fatal shooting overnight as a homicide. Officers responded to the city's southeast side about 2 this morning and found a man had been shot. First responders attempted to save the 42-year-old man, but he died at Trinity Hospital. Police have not released the name of the victim, have not disclosed whether there is a known suspect. 4 degrees. This is KFGO News. Four above, this is KFGO News. The new president of NDSU will be paid $420,000 a year. That's a significant raise from his predecessor's salary. Dr. David Cook will start in June. He's been the vice chancellor for the Office of Public Affairs and Economic Development at the University of Kansas. Cook will be paid more than current NDSU President Dean Brashani and UND President Andrew Armacost. Both make around $370,000 a year. Photos of 2 ice-covered Castleton, North Dakota firefighters who helped rescue travelers stranded in a multi-vehicle pileup during Monday's blizzard have gone viral, and people have been wondering who they are. Firefighters Isaac Stone and Patrick Stahl have each been with the fire department for a number of years. Stone says the photos taken after the final I-94 rescues were completed were shared on social media to help convince travelers to stay put until the storm is over. Stone says he's never worked in conditions like that before. Stone says being a firefighter has always been a passion. Stone's father and brother are members of the Wahpeton Fire Department. Mask mandates have been lifted in both Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Mayors Melvin Carter and Jacob Fry both cited declining COVID cases and hospitalizations as the reason for the immediate lifting of the requirements, which were put in place in early January as the Omicron wave began to strain hospitals and staff. 2 weeks ago, both cities suspended their vaccine or test requirements for restaurants, bars, and other entertainment venues. Masks will still be required in city-owned buildings, at least for now.
That is reporter Steve Simpson. South Dakota lawmakers have approved Governor Noem's new rule for medical abortions that make the state one of the hardest places in the country to get abortion pills. The rule requires women to return to a doctor to receive the second of 2 drugs used to carry out a medication abortion. Usually women receive both drugs in one visit, but take the second medication at home. Doctors and abortion rights supporters have criticized the rule as a dangerous intrusion on the relationship between doctors and patients. The governor initiated the rules change in September through an executive order. Fargo-Moorhead about 5 for our high this afternoon. Overnight partly cloudy, 15 to 20 below zero. A light north wind overnight. Tomorrow sunny, 5 to 10 degrees. Will be mostly clear tomorrow night, 0 to 5 above for the overnight low. Mid-20s Saturday, sunny, some patchy blowing and drifting snows. A possibility Saturday afternoon. Low to mid-20s Sunday, mostly sunny. Monday, high near 25 and sunny. Partly sunny, it is 4. Paul Jerkins, News Radio KFGO.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michael, Voices Forces.
Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion.
You're just tuning into Afternoons Live. I'm Tyler Axis, your host. Eric Johnson, our producer. We got another hour and a half with you right here on KFGO, and continuing our conversation about the invasion, Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And I want to get the expert on, Dakota Rudisill. He's a friend of the show. He's a professor and senior fellow at the Mershon Center for International Security Studies at The Ohio State University. Dakota, welcome back. This is exactly what the last time you and I spoke about this, leading up to it, this is exactly what you said was likely going to happen.
Yeah, this is, it looks like our worst fears so far, a full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Vladimir Putin.
Mm-hmm. One thing why I wanted to start there is because we saw it coming because of the intelligence on this. I mean, everything that the United States intelligence, which you've got a background in, said was going to be the case is the case. How'd they get it so right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Things happen, and often people talk about intelligence failures. 9/11 was an intelligence failure, and some folks say that, that the intelligence wasn't good in Afghanistan last summer. This, for the United States, is frankly an intelligence success, meaning that the United States collected a lot of really valuable intelligence inside Russia. That let us know what their plans were, what their capabilities were, where their equipment was going, where the troops were going, how people were thinking about things, delivered that to decision makers, and they were on the money, which is Putin was planning a massive invasion. And so I think big kudos to America's, intelligence professionals, both civilian and military, who got this absolutely right. What I think is really interesting then is what senior officials in government decide to do with it, which is the president using his powers as president to declassify intelligence, declassified a lot of it and announced to the world, this is what we see the Russians doing. And there were a number of points, people have been tracking this will remember this, where, Pentagon officials, CIA officials, the president said, okay, this is what we think we're going to see. Here's where the forces are. There was another time when the United States was able to acquire Russian plans to stage a fake event at the border, which would then justify, in Putin's view, their invasion. So it was really interesting use of American intelligence to basically call out the Russians before they did stuff.
Well, and it seemed to have unified our allies and not allowing Vladimir Putin to lie as blatantly as what he quite frankly is and get away with it. I'm curious, what does that do for his psyche, Vladimir Putin, knowing that I'm sure he's sitting in the Kremlin watching American television say, all right, they're calling my shots. I mean, does that give a sense of paranoia? What does that do for him as he's decided to invade this country?
Yeah, well, what I think it does is it's exactly as you said. I mean, I think it communicates to him that we know what he's up to. And, it's really, really hard for him to fool anybody about this. And ultimately what happened here was, he went through the kind of standard, authoritarian motions of, claiming that he's going to, Ukraine was going to attack or they did attack. And, I'm just responding to a threat. I'm the good guy. This is students of history will remember This is actually what Adolf Hitler did. He went into Czechoslovakia on the pretext of protecting Germans in Czechoslovakia. He invaded Poland in 1939 to start the Second World War, claiming that Poland had attacked Nazi Germany. I mean, this is textbook going to war, by an authoritarian state that wants to do it. But, so Putin did that as window dressing. But because the United States was able to tell the whole world what he was up to, basically nobody outside of, Russia, inside their echo chamber there, nobody outside of Russia believed any of that. And so he got called out. But what I think is fascinating is that he also he's committed enough to this war. He just went and did it anyway, overtly.
What you just spoke to there, as far as, this is what authoritarians do when they just want to, create war. This message comes in. I think it's what you're getting to, but I'll ask you it from our listener. Tyler, is the invasion of Ukraine a stepping stone toward the rise of autocracy globally?
Big question. I think a good, just kind of stepping back and trying to take all this in. What does it mean? And I think one way to understand this, which is a pretty good one, is, this is basically democracy versus dictatorship. The United States and our NATO allies, we are free market republics, where you've got, free markets and, low corruption and, we're self-governing through Republican forms of government. They vary from country to country, but that's what we've got. And what Putin represents is authoritarianism. They have a constitution and they have a parliament and all that stuff. Totally meaningless. And he wants to export that model. Same thing with the Chinese. And unfortunately, what we've been seeing in the West in recent years is, terrifyingly, a growing tide inside Western countries towards authoritarianism. We've been seeing this in Hungary, one of our NATO allies, Poland, Turkey, and here in our country too. And I think it is probably one of the most chilling pieces of this is the number of voices in the United States who have been sympathizing with Vladimir Putin, with an authoritarian state crushing a democracy that wants to be our ally. I just find that utterly terrifying and bizarre. Yeah. What would Ronald Reagan say about this?
Dakota, I went down that path before I got you on. I said, look, if you're going to talk about Ronald Reagan being one of the greatest presidents, and yet you're sympathizing with Putin, you cannot have it both ways. You can't celebrate, as you should be, the greatest generation, what they fought for in the wars that you're talking about, yet be sympatizing for Vladimir Putin. You cannot have it both ways. But I won't pull you back further into that.
No, it's just. But anyway, but just come back to the viewer's comment and question. I mean, I think one of the things we are seeing here is a collision between two approaches to government, right? And one is authoritarian, and it's kind of crony capitalism with a small number of oligarchs who answer to the strong man, and they skim off a lot of the country's wealth. That's Russia. That's China. And then you've got our model, which is free market democracy. And it's colliding, and there are innocent people, freedom-loving people in Ukraine who just want to be America's ally and want to be free, and they're just getting ground to rubble today. It's just it's a terrible day.
Yeah, it's maddening. It's heartbreaking, all wrapped up. It's just an emotional day watching this. You've brought up China now twice, and before I was able to be joined with you, I had a listener ask that question as well about, does this give a green light, and I'm paraphrasing, does this give a green light for China to go into Taiwan?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a green light. I mean, I think that's, like you and I have talked about before, I think you need to look at Ukraine while you're also looking at Taiwan, because both these situations are similar, where you've got a democracy that wants to be America's friend and ally, and they're right next to a big authoritarian state with nukes. And that big authoritarian state with nukes says, you don't get to be your own country. You don't get to be a democracy. We're going to reunify. This is what the Nazis called the Anschluss, when they pulled Austria under the Nazi yoke. So you have to look at them at the same time. And I think, and I know it's very much on the minds of senior U.S. government officials right now saying, okay, we're not, the decision has been made. And I think public opinion reflects this. We're not going to fight the Russians in Ukraine. Okay, so if we're not going to fight them militarily, what can we do? And they want that package of responses, of sanctions, of aid and support to the Ukrainians to be strong enough that it sends a message half a world away to China that, okay, if you try anything on, Taiwan, we're also going to make it really, really hard for you. The interesting difference about Taiwan, though, is that the U.S. continues to use what's called strategic ambiguity, meaning telling the Chinese, we may actually fight you. We're not going to say if we are or not. But we might over Taiwan. And as you and I have talked about, I think that's really interesting. And I think all Americans need to do some reflection on this. Why are we not willing to fight to defend Ukraine, but maybe we're willing to fight to defend Taiwan? We just need to think about that.
Back to what we're watching unfold here, because we are seeing this in real time, and it is taking place. And you're right, we've been promised no boots on the ground in Ukraine. However, if that spills over to a NATO ally, then that's a whole different ballgame. But right now we're dealing with sanctions. And I've got a lot of people saying these sanctions aren't going to do anything to deter Putin. He's already made the decision. There's not going to be a bank situation that's going to change any of this. I'm curious. I know you would be hoisted up on our shoulders if you knew the answer to this, but what does stop Putin at this point?
Yeah, well, I think it's I think three things. I'll just try to be quick about it. I mean, I think one thing that might stop him is just that this whole thing militarily is a lot harder than he thought, right? The Ukrainian military is better than he thought. There's street-to-street fighting. The cost's too high. He gives up in a few weeks. I think that's unlikely, but that's one possibility. Second possibility is what stops him is that, over a long period of time, these sanctions, which really are, they're really powerful sanctions, they really make, economic life in Russia and social life. I mean, they've basically lost their ability to engage in the West, and a lot of these Russians are used to traveling all over the place. Their lives just get awful. And there's just basically a upswell of opinion in Russia. This has got to stop. And, Putin's deposed or he pulls his military out of Ukraine. But that's a longer term thing, right? That's months, years, maybe, something like that. Third thing that stops Putin is he's dumb enough to try to go into a NATO country like the Baltics or Romania or one of those. And as President Biden made completely clear, and the NATO alliance is united behind, he does that, then we're fighting Russians. And he knows we are militarily stronger than he is. And he also knows the escalation risk.
There was a veiled threat in his remarks yesterday. A lot of people are pointing to, and there's people that are wondering, geez, is this guy really the lunatic that he's now presented himself to be more publicly in the last 48 hours? I don't know that there's a real question there, but today Biden basically said the ambitions are beyond Ukraine, in his opinion, when asked by a reporter. I'm curious, just from your insight, do you expect the same thing? Give me an odds that there will be a military conflict between NATO and Russia, I guess is what I'll ask.
Who? I don't know. That's so hard. So I think it's not 50%. It's also not 0. So maybe 10%,
okay,
5%, something like that. I don't think that Putin thinks that he can actually attack a NATO country and that would go well. And I think, he wants to live. He and his buddies want to live, and they don't want to have something, escalate to a nuclear war. But what I think is a greater danger is that in the process of, Putin, waging a war in Ukraine, which is right up against 5 NATO states, and the natural reinforcement that NATO has to do, and which President Biden has done, absolutely has to do it to protect the eastern flank of NATO. That the forces get close together. There's some sort of incident. Some planes shoot at each other. Something happens in the Black Sea, whatever, and suddenly we find NATO forces fighting Russia, and it just gets tit for tat and just escalates. And I think that is a more likely scenario than, again, Putin tries to actually attack a NATO country. Terrifying scenario, totally possible. If you watch the movie The Hunt for Red October, there are a couple moments in there where people are really worried. There's going to be some little incident, some accident, or somebody pulls a trigger too fast, and it can just spin out of control quick. So reason to worry.
Dakota, as this continues to unfold, I just trust that you'll make some time for us or give us a little bit more of your time. I'm out of time right now, though, but I always appreciate your insight, my friend.
Anytime.
All right, you take care. All right, we'll chat again soon. Dakota Rudisill, this is his world. This is what he's doing as a profession for quite some time. Again, currently a professor, senior fellow at Mershon Center of International Security Studies at Ohio State University. Going to get you a weather update. We'll wrap up the 3 o'clock hour of Afternoons Live next.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
person here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
And we're heading for our weekly showdown of Audibles, brought to you by Don's Car Wash. You can put a smile on your car and on your face. The Works Car Wash. All you have to do is text to 35270 who you think is going to win this week's Audibles. Abby Miller, producer of News and Views. Rusty Halverson, part of that multi-award winning Farm and Ranch team. Derek Hansen, host of Couch Potato Radio. Hi. Hello. 0.0. I'm Tyler Axtis, your host of Afternoons Live. You texted who you think is going to win, be listening. And you know what? You need to be listening for this verdict that is going to be coming down any minute now. We will break into our game of Audibles. Verdict is reached in the trial of 3 former Minneapolis officers accused of violating George Floyd's civil rights. That's expected anytime, and when that is brought down from the courts, we will tell you right here on your number 1 rated spot for news, KFGO.
Fargo-Moorhead, we have partly sunny sky. It's 4 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. And again, the jury has reached a verdict in the federal trial. 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights. The jury's verdict after 2 days of deliberations in the case against Tutau, J. Alexander King, and Thomas Lane. It will be read in federal court in St. Paul shortly. The judge who oversaw that trial has now sealed the names of the jury members for at least 10 years. Federal Judge Paul Magnuson issued the order after the jury began deliberations. He says the court assured prospective jurors that their personal information would be kept confidential. He said federal law allows him to do so in the interests of justice. Firefighters from 4 communities battled a fire this afternoon at a vacant shop building near Hitterdal, north of Moorhead. Clay County Sheriff Mark Empting says there was no injuries. The fire was reported around 1:40. No word on the cause. Crews from Hitterdal, Hewlin, Felton, and Hawley responded. A woman who died last weekend in a South Fargo apartment fire has now been identified. She was 59-year-old Kay Holtman. Holtman's body was recovered from the unit where the blaze started. Firefighters responded to the Birchwood Apartments just west of the South University Drive Loaf and Jug at about 6:30. Sunday night, the building was evacuated. The fire was out within 10 minutes. The cause of the blaze does remain under investigation by the fire and police departments. The U.S. is imposing additional sanctions on Russia for the invasion of Ukraine. Members of the U.S. Senate from Minnesota and North Dakota are reacting. U.S. Senator Tina Smith.
The president made it abundantly clear that the United States has no intention of fighting Russia. We will defend, he said, every inch of NATO territory, but the American troops, are not in Ukraine and will not be in direct conflict with Russian troops, and that is extremely important.
Senator Hoeven calls the invasion an unprovoked attack. He says the U.S. must work closely with its allies and ensure that President Putin pays a heavy price to prevent further aggression in Eastern Europe. Senator Kramer says Putin has put his fantasies of reuniting the Soviet Union into action. The Republican also says sanctions were needed months ago. Fargo-Moorhead, partly cloudy overnight. We expect a low of between 15 and 20 below. Tomorrow, sunny, 5 to 10 degrees. 0 to 5 above tomorrow night. Mostly clear. Sunny Saturday, mid-20s. Fargo-Moorhead, 4 degrees. Paul Jerkins, News Radio, KFGO.
Would Abby Miller like to tell the rest of the class just how popular she is and how behind you are in texts?
I can look how many unread texts I have.
It's just all the boys,
Yeah.
you know.
There's some group chats. I'm going to blame it on that.
Oh, well, and I probably
There's a lot.
I know who probably started half those group texts.
The Perry Miller.
Perry's the ultimate group texter about very random things.
Yeah. Right now, we have a family text going about an event that he's planning for the summer of 2023.
2023?
Yep.
Really?
You know, there's
It's
a
tough to
summer.
plan
There's
for
a
that.
summer between
Wow.
2023 and now, right?
Let's get to this one first, can we? Please.
Yeah, let's please. It feels like we're crawling on hands and knees
No.
just
Good to
trying to
plan
get to
ahead.
this summer.
Oh, I could use this summer.
How long can go by before you just don't respond to the text?
Oh, why? Oh.
Like, okay. Oh, God, that person sent that like 2 weeks ago. I'm just, I'm done.
You can't you can't be like, hey, sorry. They're like, you had to have seen this before 2 weeks, and I have some that are at that point. So apologies to those people.
Yeah. What happens to me is if I'm driving,
Yeah.
and if I see I got alert, I don't want to look down at it, and then I'll get 3 more by the time I get home, and then that one's like 5th down, so I missed it. So, and that's my excuse.
Yeah, see, for me, I will get some while I'm sitting here. We'll get to Audibles. This is our slow tapping, waiting for the verdict to come in on these 3 former Minneapolis police officers. I'll get text during the show here. And then you'll see it, but then you'll completely forget about it by the time you have a chance to go ahead and text back. I'm not being rude. I'm just busy sometimes.
I'm actually looking at my phone now.
I don't know. That's what sparked all this was every single one in this studio besides Eric Johnson, the producer, was nose deep in their phone.
Sometimes I just don't want to reply.
Well, I just got a message at the Prior Lake now that they are shutting down their girls' basketball season. All these things going on in the cities with racism and you know, as far as words of maybe any type of thing, you know, as far as crowds chanting at the basketball teams, it's just getting really ugly down there. It's really sad.
There was another reported incident earlier today.
Yeah, that a gal passed a note to another gal saying, "Get off our team," and use a slur. I don't get it at all. What the heck is going on?
Very unusual.
Hello, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Central California listeners.
Central California?
Not kidding.
You can take
is your wifey there?
Yeah.
That's an easy way to transition. You can take us anywhere worldwide.
Yes.
All you got to do is if you're in front of your computer, KFGO.com, you can click listen live or download the KFGO mobile app. And the best thing about it, it's free.
Or watch the live stream if you want to see what people look like in studio.
Yeah.
That's also on KFGO.com.
KFGO.com or YouTube. You can take us everywhere, watch us live, listen to us live as we are alive awaiting all these verdicts to come in.
We should know better than this.
I know. This is what happens out there.
We can play later.
Yeah.
We'll stall.
Well, you guys aren't busy. I mean, it's not like you've been behind the board since like 6.
I actually didn't have to do the morning show today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very good. You didn't get to go down to Morton, though.
No.
Everyone else in this, no, I shouldn't. Somebody else was putting together Audibles as we were down in Morton, and he's patiently waiting back there.
Were you there?
Johnson. Yeah, I was there.
He did show up.
We're all shocked.
No, I'm not shocked. He told me he's going to come
your boss
down
for not
there.
making me do his job for that last hour of news and views.
Yes.
That's what allowed me to go shake hands, indulge in some coffee down in Morton, and have a great time with the fellow KFGO listeners.
Yep.
Did you have the infamous skillet? Was that what
Yes.
I was hearing about?
It was really good.
I heard all about, but I did not have.
Yeah, it was a Philly cheese sandwich type of skillet.
But in skillet form.
Yeah, it was really, really good with eggs on it and cheese and all that. So onions, peppers, you name it. That was a good breakfast. I just had a bagel for lunch because I'm still like, wow.
In recovery.
Yes, that was great.
One meal a day.
I looked at their menu too. It was like Cajun chicken sandwich. I love those.
So I was hearing from our very own JJ Gordon, who's down there, saying that their wings, they brag about their wings because they smoke them all right there.
They smoke them, they say.
So when they have a wing night, I say the KFGO crew gets on down.
Okay,
there.
twist
That'd
my
be
arm.
fun.
Yeah.
Joel has a cruiser.
We've got a rig.
Yeah, we can take
do.
that.
Yeah.
There we go.
He can come on up here and get the rig and then drive us down there.
It's probably a bit chilly. Yeah. I don't know how we'll get back.
We were delivering turkeys in the middle of winter. I think we can go get wings for ourselves.
Good idea.
Do we have someone that can drive it?
Joel.
Other than Joel?
Drive it there.
Anyone can drive it.
No, but that's
Yeah.
right by his house. He would have to bring us down and then bring us back up and then
that's
drive
fine.
back.
That's part of being a good manager.
It's about camaraderie.
Yeah, camaraderie, but also just taking one for the team. You care so much about the happiness of your employees that you go above and beyond to deliver for them. And they would be delivering us wings down in Morton.
Yeah.
There we go.
Checks out.
I like the idea.
I like that.
How about the summer of 2023 for that?
and okay, so this wasn't a group text. It was just a text in the KFGO. The Perry Miller. Hey, in my defense, the guy I'm trying to book is full already for this song.
Fair enough.
It is like for an event. He's trying to book somebody.
Oh.
A one-man band.
Really?
Interesting.
A one
And he wanted him for this summer, and he wanted him for August, and there's only one day he had open.
Very good. We'll continue this bantering. I want to kick it over to Paul Jurgens in the KFGO News Center. Jurgie, has the verdict been announced?
Yeah, we have 3 officers involved in this civil rights case against those 3 officers in the death of George Floyd, federal civil rights case. And the jury has convicted all 3 former officers on all counts. Verdict just being read moments ago at the federal courthouse in St. Paul. So a sweeping victory for the prosecution. This came after 2 days of deliberations, 13 or 14 hours in total. Tu Tao, J. Alexander King, and Thomas Lane. The verdict's read, and the jury convicts all 3 former Minneapolis police officers of violating George Floyd's rights. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Thanks a lot there, Jurgie. Wow, guilty on all charges, all 3 of them. We'll have to unpack that a little bit more.
Yeah,
we'll get
for
our friend in law enforcement, our attorney on, Mark Freeze, if you're listening. Answer my call tomorrow, and we'll break that down. Eric Johnson, should we take a break and come back? Yeah, we got Audibles. We'll start it all over again. Abby Miller, Rusty Halverson, Derek Hansen, I'm Tyler Axis. You are listening to KFGO. Again, Paul Jurgens with that breaking news. All 3 former Minneapolis police officers guilty on all charges down in Minneapolis. More Afternoons Live right after this.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Halverson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Paul Jurgens, News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page.
We'll get your thoughts on the guilty verdict of these 3 former Minneapolis police officers, all guilty on all charges. As you just heard breaking news from Paul Jurgens. We'll get to that after KFGO News. In the meantime, we've got Audibles. We're ready to go. I don't want to keep everybody here any longer. You've been putting in a long day. I'm thinking about your well-being. Abby Miller, Rusty Halverson, Derek Hansen, I'm Tyler Axis. Audibles provided by Afternoons Live, built by Eric Johnson today.
Yeah, guys, we're a little bit late with some breaking news, but I'll run through the rules quickly. 5 categories over here, 4 pieces of audio, scaled scoring, ring in with your name. Abby gets to select first because she's the most recent winner. After that, whoever gets the right answer selects next. Answer incorrectly, out for that category, back in on the next. Abby, would you like movie, TV show, song, character, or actor?
Let's start with song.
Song, audio clip number 1. Song, audio clip number 2. Song, audio clip number 3.
Tyler. Folsom Blues.
Abby.
Oh my God.
Abby is next.
Folsom Prison Blues.
Rusty. Get rhythm.
Oh my Lord.
I like that Abby thinks that there was going to be an assist there.
I like that.
Thanks, Tyler.
Immediately dashed. Rusty out to the early lead with 2 points.
That was well deserved.
Wow.
That's funny.
4 categories. Rusty, would you like movie, TV show, character, or actor?
May we please have movie?
Movie, audio clip number 1. Movie, audio clip number 2. Movie, audio clip number 3. And finally, movie, audio clip number 4.
Tyler. Bad News Bears.
Yeah. Good call.
Yeah.
Man.
Took me a long time to get there. But we did.
Yeah, we got there.
Tyler cuts Rusty's lead in half, but Rusty's still on top with 2. Tyler on the board with 1. 3 categories remaining. TV show, character, or actor?
Television show, please.
TV show, audio clip number 1. TV show, audio clip number 2. TV show, audio clip number 3.
Abby. New Girl.
Yes. New Girl.
Also, I don't know if the clips are playing on YouTube. Tip from a friend.
Oh, that would be make it not as fun to watch on YouTube.
Thanks for watching on YouTube. I assure you the rest of the categories.
What station is this on? Rusty and I are looking at each other.
New Girl. What?
New Girl.
It was
New
on
Girl.
Fox,
It's a very funny show.
for like the first 3 seasons, and then it really dives off.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Agree to
Very
disagree.
quotable. Couple characters that
Zooey Deschanel, isn't it?
It doesn't ring a bell.
She's a girl in Elf.
I was just watching Cheers clips, so I'm in the loop.
All right.
Can you believe that they use the Cheers theme in Applebee's commercials now?
Yes.
No.
It's wrong.
Money talks.
So here's where we sit, guys. Pretty clustered up. Everybody's still alive. Abby and Rusty with 2 points. Tyler with 1. Derek yet to score, but 2
I
categories
hope to participate. Yeah.
remaining. Abby, would you like character or actor?
Character.
Character. Fictional character. Audio clip number 1.
You're not all here, are you? Are you just saying back to me what I am saying?
Character. Audio clip number 2.
Cuba, Russia, America, makes no difference. Sure,
Tyler.
declared war on mankind.
Tyler.
On all of us.
Professor X.
That is correct.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Indeed. All right. Well, here's where we sit going into the last category, actor being the last category. Everybody's still alive. Tyler on top with 4 points. Abby and Rusty with 2. You need 2 for the tie, 3 for the win. Derek need all 4 for the tie. But the final category, actor, audio clip number 1.
Well, get yourself ready. You want the whole place laughing at us. I've only to put on a skirt. Well, do so, please. And do something with your hair as well. Where's Rose?
Actor.
Derek. Might as well try Julianne Moore. No.
Could you imagine if you would have got that?
That would have been
funny.
That would have been wild.
Derek eliminated for the rest of the actor category. We move on to actor, audio clip number 2.
You got to be grateful for everything that happens to you because that's what got you here, you know? And if you hadn't gone through all the things that you went through, why, you know, you wouldn't have wound up where you are now, so.
Actor, audio clip number 3.
I'm going to try to flip this thing
Abby.
over now.
Meryl Streep.
That is
Very well.
That
Wow.
ties it up.
Are we prepared for a tiebreaker?
So tiebreaker time. This tiebreaker was new on November 18th, so it's been a while since we've had a tie. Only Abby and Tyler get to participate. This is a speed round, so it is all about who rings in first.
I'll text you.
On this tiebreaker, which is TV show. Tiebreaker, audio clip.
Abby.
Abby first.
Friends.
Wow.
Giving Abby.
It's like a buzzer beater.
Yeah, okay, Tyler.
Tiebreaker's all about speed.
Yeah.
All about speed.
She's closer to the board. She heard it first.
Oh,
It's
my
an
Lord.
unfair advantage. It's rigged.
Just say whatever you need. Tyler.
Whatever helps me sleep at night, because I'm a winner.
But not this
twice
week.
this
Okay,
year.
Ricky Bobby.
So she's not going to get fired. I believe her boss was really adamant that she try this week.
I do well when Matt is gone.
Well,
All
we
of
all
us
do
have-
better.
Yeah.
Although I didn't do anything today. So.
You guessed.
Glad
You
I made it.
I mean, when you ring in early on and you know it's a female actor, you could have taken the bomb shot and go for one of the most prominent female
Yeah.
actors of all time, Meryl Streep. So, it's possible.
I was thinking it was Marty McFly's mother. Who's that actress?
Yeah.
Leah Thompson.
Yeah, Leah Thompson.
There you go.
I would have
Leah
been
Thompson.
wrong.
From Minnesota.
Is she?
It would have been wrong.
Oh. Congratulations, Abby. Any final parting words before we crown your victor in the text
I just love bringing the class. I love when Matt's gone. I love a win.
Wow.
Well said.
Well, yes, well said.
You're going to
True
get most of
statesman.
March without him, so we got to get
Yeah.
That is one that we will write down and
you.
recite.
A
Here,
tiebreaker.
Henceforth, a tiebreaker goes to Abby Miller. But you're the real winners. If you chose Abby, one of you is going to get a text back from me. You won the car wash from Don's. When we come back after KFGO News, let's talk about this verdict in Minneapolis. I'm Tyler Axis. Don't go anywhere.
Robertson here with another Actor News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News
Amy
Radio.
Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people.
News and weather this hour brought to you by LineX of Fargo. This is LineX country, home of the adventurous. Find them at 265 Main Avenue in West Fargo.
Fargo-Moorhead, partly sunny and 3 degrees. I'm Paul Juergens. 3 former Minneapolis police officers have been convicted of violating George Floyd's civil rights. They were charged with depriving Floyd of his right to medical care when Officer Derek Chauvin pressed his knee into Floyd's neck as the 46-year-old man was handcuffed and face down on the street. Chauvin was convicted of murder last year in state court and pleaded guilty in December in the federal case. Again, the officers have been convicted on federal civil rights violations. Minot police are investigating the early morning shooting death of a man during some type of altercation. Officers responded shortly after 2 this morning to an address in southeast Minot. The victim died at Trinity Hospital. His name has not been released. Police have not said whether they have a suspect. A woman who died last weekend at a South Fargo apartment fire has been identified. She was 59-year-old Kay Holtman. Holtman's body was recovered from the unit where the blaze started. Firefighters responded to the Birchwood Apartments west of the South University Drive Loaf and Jug at about 6:30 Sunday night. The building was evacuated. The fire was out within 10 minutes. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. Firefighters from 4 towns battled a blaze at a vacant shop building near Hitterdall, Minnesota this afternoon. Clay County Sheriff Mark Empting says no one was hurt. The fire was reported at about 1:40. There's no word on the cause. Fire crews from Hitterdall, Eulden, Felton, and Hawley responded. 3 degrees. This is KFGO News. Three degrees. You're listening to KFGO News. Police in Carrington, North Dakota arrested a man after they found about 290 pounds of cocaine. The cocaine was seized last Friday. The estimated street value is about $5 million. According to court records, a 38-year-old Edmonton, Alberta man is charged now in Foster County with possession with intent to manufacture and deliver cocaine. He's in jail on $50,000 bond. Agencies involved in the investigation include the Carrington Police Department, North Dakota State Patrol, Stutzman County Drug Task Force, and the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration. The new president of NDSU will be paid $420,000 a year. That's a significant raise from his predecessor's salary. Dr. David Cook will start in June. He's been the vice chancellor for the Office of Public Affairs and Economic Development at the University of Kansas. Cook will be paid more than current NDSU President Dean Brashani and UND President Andy Armacost. Both make around $370,000. The mask requirements in both Minneapolis and St. Paul are ending.
Mayors Melvin Carter and Jacob Fry both cited declining COVID cases and hospitalizations as the reason for the immediate lifting of the requirements, which were put in place in early January as the Omicron wave began to strain hospitals and staff. 2 weeks ago, both cities suspended their vaccine and testing requirements for restaurants, bars, and other entertainment venues.
Reporter Susie Jones says face masks will still be required in city-owned buildings in both cities. Fargo-Moorhead, partly cloudy overnight. We expect a low of between 15 and 20 below with a light northerly wind. Sunny tomorrow, above 0, 5 to 10 with a south wind at 10 to 20. Clear tomorrow night, 0 to 5 above. Sunny Saturday, mid-20s. Sunday, mostly sunny, 20 to 25. By Wednesday, partly sunny, high 30 to 35. Partly sunny, it's 3 degrees. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
CBS National News on the way. Do you agree with the guilty verdict on these 3 former Minneapolis police officers accused of violating George Floyd's civil rights? There's one in particular that I want you to think about and give your thoughts on, because one of these officers, if I have it correct, it was his first day out on the beat. And if that's what memory serves. And you've got Derek Chauvin with his knee refusing, if you remember watching that video, of which we did, refusing to get off George Floyd. And he's been a 20-plus year veteran on the police force. Is Derek Chauvin. You got a rookie there, now guilty on these charges. I'm curious your thoughts. Do you provide any benefit of the doubt for him as a newbie who's now trying to square off, or would have had to square off if he gets a 25-year vet? 35270. That is the eye consultants of North Dakota Text Club. Lenny studio line is open as well at 237-5948. Coming back to you right after the CBS News.
So today on MSUM campus we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11. And volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
KFGO News Center. The jury does convict 3 former Minneapolis police officers of violating George Floyd's civil rights. And what I'm throwing your way was the fact that one of them, first day on the job, do you cut any slack there? There's a few messages that have been sent in I don't want to get to. Tyler, what will the officer's punishment be? We don't know yet. They'll have a sentencing at a later date with the judge. But I did see in some of the reporting that a conviction of a federal civil rights violation that results in the death is punishable by life in prison. But such sentences are extremely rare from the report that I am reading right now. But that'll come in time of when the sentencing of these 3 brought forward. But I'd asked this newbie, first day on the job, you're watching as a veteran of 20 plus years has his knee on the back of someone's neck, refusing repeatedly to move, saying he's not going anywhere. So that new aspect of which do you feel helpless? I don't know. I can't put myself in that individual's shoes. But I'd ask, do you cut him any slack? Tyler, this newbie should still be found guilty. It is the only way to break this blue line of silence that protects bad officers. But hopefully his punishment would be reflected, that means less than others, that he was brand new and didn't think he could disobey his commanding officer. I think that is fair. One thing that comes to mind here, this might upset some of you out there, it was just last week, I do recall, you had the sentencing for Kim Potter. And, she was the police officer that mistook her gun for her taser and, shot and killed Dante Wright. The verdict or the sentencing comes in at 5 years, less than what the state guidelines were. But what happened after that verdict came in, after that sentencing came in, there was a protest outside of that judge's house. And if you recall, and I was saying at the time that I understand the emotional response from the family. I get it. You again cannot put myself in the position, having lost a loved one, but to say that the justice system murdered your son all over again, then to go have, a protest outside of the home of the judge. In this case, now you've got this jury. They don't want their names out there. It's creating an environment in these situations in which you've got to question how this outside pressure impacts some of this, whether it's a jury or the sentencing. Because as you just heard on the CBS News update, the jury wasn't sequestered. They knew full well what was going on. They've watched as the Chauvin trial went on. They were part of it all. And though I do find that if you've watched that video, which, if you didn't watch it, I don't know how in the world you missed it, because it was all over repeatedly for weeks, months. It was not just Derek Chauvin. Yes, he was the one whose knee led to the death, but you kept wondering, well, why is no one else intervening here? So guilty verdict, appropriate, sure. And that's why, this is the long way around for me to say this text that comes in saying, the newbie did also have to be found guilty, but hopefully the punishment isn't as severe as the other ones. It's a long way of me saying I agree with you. Because think about yourself in any other situation, new on the job, seeing something off, and something not as high risk, with the adrenaline not as there now with people with their videos, video documenting this. Are you comfortable standing up to your superior in that moment on day one, somebody that's been doing the job for 20-some years? So that's why when I think about him being found guilty, it was interesting. So I throw that your way. You can chew on that and let me know what you thought. Tyler, spot on. I heard 2 weeks on the police force, but what rookie would step forward in the, quote, blue community to demand that a senior officer take direction from an officer who knows nothing? That's where I think in this situation, being that rookie, that new individual in that situation, if you put yourself there, and it's maybe not a fair question, do you think you would have said, hey, that's enough, get off, to somebody that, you saw the look, you saw the the arrogance, the passion, the frustration that Derek Chauvin was putting on full display there. It's just, think about that. Tyler, do you really think that the jury dare not convict considering the potential for riot? See, and I don't know about the potential for riot in this situation. I mean, I was posing the same question, saying with the outside environment that's been created around this very situation, and I go back to, again, the Kim Potter, the response to just the sentencing there of, the showing up outside the street or on the street outside the house. It's just, we've got to stop doing that. I do think it impacts these potential decisions further on down the road, whether they're related to the same case, the same trial or not. I do think within that bubble of the greater Minnesota, Twin Cities area, in that situation, you are impacting potential jurors, potential sentencing. I'll get back to some of the rest of the message. Final segment of Afternoons Live on a Thursday afternoon. Come back to you. We'll find out what's coming up on the Drive Time News. Derek Hansen is going to steer you right into Wild Hockey. They're at Toronto. The puck drops at 5:45 right here on KFGO. In the meantime, let's get you that weather update.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Forecast from the KFGO Weather Center. Tonight, partly cloudy, lows of 15 to 20 below, and a light north wind. Tomorrow, sunny, high of 5 to 10 above, winds out of the south 10 to 20. Tomorrow night, mostly clear and a low of 0 to 5 above. For your Saturday, sunny, patchy blowing and drifting snow in the afternoon with a high in the mid-20s. Sunday, mostly sunny, high 20 to 25. For your Monday, sunny, high near 25. Tuesday, partly sunny, slight chance of some light snow, and a high in those upper 20s. And for your Wednesday, partly sunny, high in the low 30s. It's currently 3 degrees at the KFGO studios. Final segment of Afternoons Live with Tyler Axis coming up right after this.